It's time to sharpen up those edges and grease up your chains. We are going to live it up with mountain life. Dropping in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
What's up, mountain lifers? How are you living? Large as possible and posse unstoppable? Tough as nails in aluminum pails? Down to shred and then go to bed? Okay, that's enough of that. My name is Feet Banks. Thank you for joining us on the Live It Up with Mountain Life podcast. And actually, what you might be living right now is confusion, because we just dropped an episode like 6 days ago, and here we are, back already with another, which has never happened before. But there was a lag at the start of the year, and also we're pumped because we have a new pod partner with Citizen Watches. And today, in honor of International Women's Day, March 8th, we have Citizen ProMaster team member, global adventurer, and absolutely incredible photographer, Jody MacDonald, on the pod. Jody has sailed around the world twice. She's visited over 100 countries, and she creates incredible photographs everywhere she goes. Right now, she's in Nepal, but she got up early to make the time zones work, and we're going to jump into my chat with her real quick. But now it's time to hear from Citizen Watches. Spoiler alert, though, it's still just going to be my voice. Time is important in the mountains. Out there in the wild, missing a rendezvous or misjudging how much daylight is left can have dire consequences. For over 100 years, Citizen have been known for creating quality timepieces and embracing ideas and actions that elevate society above self and respect the planet we love to explore. Need an altimeter or a pro-quality dive watch? Citizen's ProMaster series provide functionality, durability, and the spirit of adventure up in the air, on land, or at sea. With a huge line of professional-grade, sport-inspired designs, Citizen keeps you on time and makes every minute count. Find your next perfect timepiece at citizenwatch.com. Better starts now. So stoked to have Citizen on board, and even more stoked to have Jody MacDonald here today. She has won a ton of photography competitions and awards, including a Red Bull Illume and Exposure Award, and she once took home top spot at the World Open of Photography. She's done TEDx talks, written blogs about how to shoot photos while paragliding in the air, and she once spent 10 years at sea and puked pretty much every day. So let's get into it. Here's me using the technology of our modern era to talk to Jody MacDonald during a break on a solo motorbike journey in the Himalaya. All right. I like to come in hot, but you have spent a lot of time in vast, empty, natural spaces, and you've stared death in the face at least once that I read about, probably a few times. What's your relationship right now to insignificance?
Insignificance. Wow, you are coming in hot. What a good question. Oh, wow. I mean, I actually love insignificance. I really, I think that's definitely one of the things I love about big, wide open, remote places and big mountain landscapes, or just like the grandeur and feeling small for me is so important. I guess it helps me in so many ways, like give me perspective on my life and feeling like, really what my problems are and you know, what things are going on in my life are not really that important in the big scheme of things,
Totally.
and I think,
Totally.
I think, always keeping that in check keeps me mentally sane. And I think it keeps me humble in the best of ways. And, yeah, I think it's really, really important to feel insignificant.
Did you or have you do you remember when you started to understand the importance of feeling that way? Has it been something since you were a teenager, since before, or since you kind of embarked on this journey that you seem to have been on for quite a while now?
Yeah, I think I've been on this journey, like, looking back, I think my whole life, but I think the insignificant thing, if I had to guess, it probably started when I lived at sea for a decade. And just being, maybe it started like just being in the middle of these huge ocean passages that would take 2 weeks. And I remember feeling like, wow, like I'm a blip. We are a blip Like I think when you just kind of get that perspective, whether it's in the mountains or the ocean, or just feeling like, wow, you could die at any moment and nobody would know, nobody would care, and nothing would change. And you are really just a speck. And so I think, in all those long, long passages where I just spent like weeks looking out the window or on watch, you have so much time to think about all this stuff and contemplate
And everything's
all
so
these things.
vast. On the ocean, it's the most
It's
vast place.
it's the most vast. I mean, you don't see land for weeks if you're, crossing the Pacific or Atlantic, or,
Yeah,
you know, and you're just like, holy shit, there's not even land to look at for 2 weeks.
awesome. Okay, well, we'll come in. We're gonna come back to that. We'll come in with a little bit of backstory. Uh, these days, you're best known as a photographer. You're, multiple award winner. Some places have called you the real life Indiana Jones. Um, you shoot a lot of landscapes, animals, people, portraits. You've been to over 100 countries. You've seen a lot of the world. What makes a good photograph for you? What do you when you're creating a photograph? What does it just happen, or do you like how does it happen for you?
No, I mean, for me, photography it's so hard to get a good photograph. And it's the process of trying to get that, which I love, because it's just like this never ending quest of improvement in how you see the world, and light and motion, and like all these elements have to come together. And a really good photograph to me is one that not only evokes motion but has like balance and the right composition, and how it's just this, and the right lighting, and yeah, and it has to really evoke an emotion in me, in the viewer, whoever. And yeah, so it just has to have all these elements kind of come together
It's
to make
interesting.
something great.
It's interesting to hear about that. I had a buddy who was an artist. He tried photography, but he found he couldn't capture the passage of time in a photograph. He couldn't capture a complete moment, like a full sunset. You know, have you have you struggled with that? Have you found a way around that when you talk about capturing these things? Is a photo still a moment or time, or how do you get it outside of that into a mood in time, or a sense of place, or because usually it's
Well, I mean,
one thousandth of a second, right, or whatever.
yeah, I mean, I think a lot of times it's a moment in time, but I think where those photographs kind of transcend the moment in time is when they're like a timeless image. So what I mean by timeless image is like there's sometimes somebody can take a photo of a location, and you can't place whether if that was 75 years ago or 100 years ago or today. And that those photos to me transcend time, because they're just, it could be taken anytime.
Yeah,
But then there's so many that are just like in the moment, you've caught an amazing moment, and this is you're documenting history, life.
yeah. When you talk about those timeless images, the power of a photograph can be so unreal, and one image can change the world. You think of the first image of the earth from space really helped the environmental movement get forward, or that monk that set himself on fire to protest the Vietnam War. Or for me as a
Sure,
Canadian, I remember being a kid and seeing the famous face-to-face photograph of the standoff between a Canadian Armed Forces person and a an Ojibwe soldier or an Ojibwe activist in Quebec at a standoff, and that's 35 years ago, and I
sure.
still remember that image, and it's still pertinent today.
Right.
Uh, were there photos like that for you when you were growing up, or now, where you're just like, this is a timeless image that'll never be outside of my mind?
I mean, I think I have those, but I can't actually think of one off the top of my head at the
Yeah,
moment, other than, yeah, I mean, I think I know there's ones that I keep coming back to, but they're more like in relation to location, I
Right.
guess,
I mean, for some people,
Yeah.
for some of your photographs are that photograph for some people, right? Like the swimming elephant, or some of these photographs have really struck a nerve.
Yeah, maybe. Maybe. I mean,
It seems like,
as the artist, I think it's hard to know that for sure, you know?
yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
I mean, it'd be great. It's great if that happens, but
I bet you it does. But let's go back. We jumped ahead there a little bit, but start at the beginning. So you're born in Ottawa, and your parents
born in
traveled,
Ottawa.
grew up in Saudi Arabia.
Yeah.
How did that
Moved
happen?
there when Yeah, I moved there when I was 2. My dad worked for a Canadian telephone company and Bell Canada. And they got a big contract to set up the phone system in Saudi.
Right. And so how long were you
So
there? A
lived
while?
there 13 years.
Wow.
Yeah.
And did you have brothers and sisters, or was it just you and your folks?
Yeah, no, I have one brother and 2 sisters. And in Saudi, I'm the youngest of the 4. And in Saudi, they only let you stay till grade 9 because they don't want you, staying longer and kind of becoming, as a Westerner, becoming part of society or,
Right.
in Saudi. So yeah, you'd have to leave at grade 9. So my oldest sister never spent any time in Saudi. And then my second oldest sister, she spent a couple years. And then my brother was there for 7 years, I think, around 7. So I was there the whole time.
Right. And so
But
growing up there, was there outdoor recreation? What did it look like for, the weekend trips with the family?
yeah, no, there was a lot of restriction, in Saudi, and especially at that time. I think it's like loosening up now since COVID. So Uh, yeah, no, I mean, there wasn't a lot of outdoor recreation, and like as a female, you can't go anywhere without a male. So I couldn't go, anywhere without my dad.
Right.
Um, but I would, remembering most of the recreation. I mean, you have like we live in compounds, and in the compounds they have it's kind of like being in a resort. They have all the amenities. They have the Olympic-sized swimming pool and the tennis courts and the squash courts, and so you always have that component. But one of the perks my parents got was paid vacations, and they had never traveled anywhere. So
Right.
yeah. So we started every school break, every, summer holiday. It was like, we're gonna go somewhere new in the part of the, see something new we've never seen. So
Right.
when I returned at the age of 16 to Canada, I had already traveled to a large part of the world with
Awesome.
my parents.
And then what was it like
Yeah.
coming back to like this part of the world? Where did you come back to? Back to Ottawa, or did you end up out west, or?
Yeah, I came back to Ottawa for a couple years and did high school, and then went 1 year in high school in the States, and then came back, did my grade 13 in Canada, which I'm still so bummed I had to
I
do
know
13 years of high
it's
school,
it's
grade
so
13 of high school.
because we're in British Columbia, it's baffling to us. Like that's an extra painful
Yeah,
year. You could have been doing anything.
I know. I know, and I'm still really kind of upset about it. Yeah, and then I did my university outdoor bachelor degree at Lakehead in University in Thunder Bay,
Right.
Ontario.
And then
And then moved to Vancouver. Then moved to
became
Vancouver.
a guide. You were a guide?
Well, after university, I did a lot of guiding. I did guiding in the based out of Vancouver into the Coast Mountain Range, and then I also did a lot of rafting in Alaska, raft
Awesome.
guiding.
So not too
Yeah.
bad. Um,
Yeah.
Looking back, you spent some time that's where we are on the west coast of BC. Compared, you've been all over the world. How do the mountains, the Canadian West Mountains, how do those stack up against some of the other mountains in the world? Obviously they're not as tall as many as you're in Nepal right now. But
Yeah.
what goes through your mind when you think about those years in the Canadian mountains?
I mean, I think. I think that whole Pacific Northwest, Canada and, upper US is just, I think it's a magical place. I mean, there's nothing quite like the mountains there, you know? I mean, they're so lush and beautiful and, there's not a lot of people living around there, so they're really pristine and beautiful and huge old growth. And I mean, yeah, no, incredibly, incredibly special. And completely unique, to that area.
Yeah.
So they're kind of hard to compare because like I've been the last 3 years, I would say, in the Himalayas here. And that's just, super high, dry,
Yeah.
desert like, with like little to no vegetation. So it's completely different.
I think a lot of people they always wonder about the inciting incident of the story, but you were working at Mountain Co-op, which for our American listeners is like kind of like the Canadian REI.
Yeah.
And what did you do there? You were a photography something there? You were already into photography by that point?
Yeah, I was well, I was because I did my bachelor's in outdoor recreation in university, and then as of the electives, I did a lot of photography, and that's where I fell in love with photography. And then for me in university, it was kind of like a light bulb moment in terms of like, wow, I can combine my passion of photography and outdoor adventure by taking my camera with me on all my adventures, and just to
Yeah.
being able to document all these incredible experiences that I was having outdoors in the wilderness, whether it was climbing or paddling or whatever, and just yeah, just being able to take pictures. And I had no, at that time there was no I had no like outdoor adventure photographer role models like to say like that's a career, that's something you can do. I just knew that I really loved those two things, and I was like, I could combine them, So when I was guiding after university, I started taking my camera with me and just taking pictures
And
while I was on trips.
was it film or had the digital revolution started
No, it was film. It was film, so it was a pain in the ass. And
and
then
expensive?
and expensive. And then when I started working at Mountain Equipment Co-op in Vancouver, I just worked in the store. I don't even remember how long now, just like 1 year or something. And then I had a friend of mine was the photo editor in the head office. And I was so interested in photography. So I was constantly asking him, like, oh, what's this job like?
Yeah.
Is it, what do you do? Like,
And
how,
the
like,
catalog was a thing back then.
and it was a thing, like a Patagonia catalog, in a
Yeah.
lot of
Yeah.
ways. And so I got really interested in his position at head office, and then he was leaving, and I said, you know what, I'm going to apply for that job. I would love that job. And so he knew how interested I it was in it, so he recommended me for that position,
Awesome.
just because he could see I was really passionate about it. And then so I
Yeah.
ended up doing that. Yeah,
And you also worked with Frank Wolf, who is no stranger to this
Frank.
pod.
I love Frank.
Was
Frank
he
is
the same
amazing.
savage adventurer that he is now when you worked with him? Was
Oh
he always
yeah. Oh no, yeah, yeah.
and
Yeah, I'm
so
sure he was savage since he was young.
back to that inciting incident, and maybe Frank's adventures played a role, but how did you make that leap from the 9 to 5, office, even in an outdoor industry, to just heading off on your own, doing your own thing? What was that transition like? How did that happen?
Yeah, I mean, I was dating um a bush pilot and paraglider pilot and a like ex-pro surfer guy from the States, and he was just a really adventurous guy, and he was always traveling between like Alaska and Mexico, California, Oregon. And then he'd come up to visit me in Vancouver, and he would come into my he would come into my office. And at the time, my office at the co-op was like in the basement, in the corner, in like this dark kind of basement office. And he used to like go in there, and he'd be like, dude, this is a cave. Like what is going on in here? You're just like, this place is sucking your soul. And at that point, I'd been doing the job for a couple of years, and I had learned everything I wanted to learn. And I think it was driving me crazy that I would get these photo submissions of,
Yeah.
everybody having these amazing adventures in backcountry. And I was
Yeah.
just sitting in the office and I was like, I wish I was out there taking these pictures, not in here,
That's
you know?
relatable. I,
And
I run
so,
I run a magazine, so that happens to me, right?
yeah.
I'm at a
And
desk looking.
it was, yeah, and it was really hard at the time because having a job at the head office at Mac was very coveted. And because they gave you all these perks and, I mean, it was just, and you could kind of have the freedom to work when you wanted. I remember they didn't really care so much as long, like how much hours you were in the office as long as you were getting your work done,
Yeah,
And so
yeah,
it was a really solid, secure coveted position, and like my parents were so happy because they're like, oh, finally you're getting a real job, and so, but then I had my boyfriend at the time. He was just, his name was Chris, and he was always just like, what are you doing? This place is just, yeah, sucking your soul. And I I started thinking, like, you're not wrong, like this is too comfortable for me. I could see 10 years going by like that and
yeah,
nothing changing in my life, and not being able to really discern 1 year from 8 years,
yeah.
just like the monotony. And I just thought, oh my God, I have to change something,
Right.
you know? And then so I planned on quitting, and Chris had said to me, I was like, what am I going to do if I quit? And he's like, I don't know, but let's just go on a road trip down the West Coast and we'll paraglide and we'll surf and we'll, just hang out and for a few months, and you can just take the time and we'll figure out something for you to do next. And I was
Yeah.
like, okay, yep. I'm like, I got to rip the Band-Aid off, to make the change. I can't just wait to figure out, what I'm going to do next. I just need to make the change. So yeah, that's what I did. I gave up my apartment and, quit. And my parents and everybody's like, "Oh my God, you're crazy. Like, what the hell?" And then I remember my last day of work, I was done at like 2 o'clock, and I think it was like 11 a.m. I got a phone call saying that Chris had died that morning in a paragliding accident.
Heavy.
And yeah, it was super heavy. And like you can imagine, like I was just getting ready to
Yeah,
like
yeah.
end
The plan was made.
end yeah, the plan was made, and it was just like I was closing up shop at this one life and getting ready to
Yeah.
go on another. And I was just like, oh my God. And
And
then yeah, sorry, go ahead.
well, I was just gonna say, like, obviously you went anyhow, but how long did that take a while, or was that a quick decision to be like, no, this is what I'm gonna do?
Well, yeah, I mean, I was in shock for definitely, I would say, a couple weeks, and then
Yeah.
just dealing with like the funeral and all that kind of stuff. And I had all my friends and family saying like, look, just get your job back and get your apartment back, and you know go
Yeah.
back to that. And I
Rein
and,
it
and I
in.
just thought to myself, yeah, yeah. And I just thought to myself, like, I can't do that. Like, mentally, that's moving backwards, and I need to move forwards, you
And
know?
was there a sense of like I owe it to Chris a little bit to follow through? Did that play
Yeah,
a role?
I think definitely 100%. Chris was larger than life in so many ways, and he was all about, living life to the fullest and every day, like really going after it. And 100%, I was just like, I know that if I stay in that life, I'll be stagnant,
Yeah.
mentally, physically, all those things. And I was like, I just got to go for it. So I did the road trip we were going to do, but I did it alone.
Yeah.
And I just took that time to like process and, you know,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah,
And
just
then
work through the grief. I mean, that takes for
well,
years.
forever. Yeah. And then
Yeah, forever.
was it shortly after that you ended up on a boat, or because you talked about
Yeah,
10 years
and
going by
then
pretty quick. You spent 10 years on a sailboat.
yeah, yeah. So then Not long. I mean, I ended up in Sun Valley because Chris had been doing some paragliding work in Sun Valley, Idaho. And that was actually one of the places I went to for his funeral. We took his ashes and we paraglided off the mountain there into the funeral home parking lot for
Right.
his,
You were
yeah,
already
for
you
his
were already a
funerals.
paraglider then by then. Like he'd gotten you into paragliding
Yeah,
or yeah,
exactly. Yeah. Well, actually, not he got me into paragliding. I learned with my brother in Alaska.
right.
But he kind of like amplified it. And then yeah, and then I was in Sun Valley, and then I remember he had a really good paragliding community there, and I just really fell in love with Sun Valley as a town, as it's a ski town, and the community. And had become friends with a lot of those paraglider guys, and one of the guys said, hey, why don't I own a home. He was he was a contractor, so he was building homes in the valley. And he just said, hey, I need an office manager. In the meantime, do you want to just hang out in Sun Valley and you can be my office manager? And I was Canadian, so I was working at I was under the table. So
Sick.
um yeah, I was fortunate enough to have someone who was, willing to do that for me, especially during that time when I was just going through that
Yeah,
whole
yeah.
grieving process.
And
Yeah.
that job, did it have a close date on it? So you knew I'm only going to do this for this long, or did the
Well,
walls start to
and
close in again?
no, he was fantastic. He was just like, I mean, I remember I went to Alaska for a few months to raft guide for the summer season, and then I went to Sun Valley. And then he was great. He was just like, just do this job as long as you need, like as
Yeah,
long as it feels good, you know? And so that was great. And then I met someone who offered me to start sailing in the South Pacific.
yeah,
And I'm in Sun Valley, and I remember just thinking, I'm gonna go because I have nothing to lose, everything to gain. I don't know anything about sailing. If I hate it, I can always come back and find some other job. But
yeah,
I
yeah,
won't always get an offer to go sailing in the South Pacific. So I was like, hell yeah, I'm there. This is a new
yeah,
opportunity, something I've never done, new skill to learn, you know?
yeah, yeah.
And so that's when the sailing initially started. Yep.
And obviously, you've already been shooting photos for a while, developing film. Were you submitting them to magazines? Was there any hint of a
No,
career
not
at that
yet.
point, or are you just
No.
shooting photos and keeping
Nope.
them?
Yep, not even close. Just shooting photos, I think, just to document the cool things I was
Yeah,
doing
yeah,
outdoors again. I was always outside, whether it was like paragliding, raft guiding, all these different things. And I had no connection to it being a job at
right,
all. I mean, that really began when I started sailing.
right. And would you, put together slide carousels and show your friends, or was it really, really a private endeavor?
I mean, looking back, I would, it was more private endeavor, you
Right.
know? I mean, I might show family, but that would have been it,
Yeah.
you know?
Um, Was there a hesitancy to paraglide after Chris's loss? Were you tentative about the sport? I just know because, I lost a friend ice climbing and like I stopped doing it. Right? Like did those
Yeah,
thoughts go
no,
through your mind?
100%. In paragliding world, you experience, quite a few deaths and accidents. And
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, I remember it was a huge deal for me to paraglide off the mountain with his ashes into the funeral home.
Yeah.
But I knew I had to do it. I knew I'd really be disappointed in myself if I didn't do it. Like
Right.
it was like ripping the band-aid off or, getting back on
Yeah.
the horse. I just knew it was a really pivotal moment. And if I didn't do it, I would not have been happy with myself. And I just
Yeah.
said, I got to do it. And then, I think, a lot during that whole grieving process time, I really thought a lot about paragliding and risk. And at the end of the day, I just keep coming back to, hey, these are activities that make me really happy and make me feel really alive. And there's I just see so much risk in the world in general, like I could get cancer and die. I could get, in a car accident, and it was just like it would be, in my mind, it was always just, it would be a shame for me not to continue these things
Yeah.
because of that fear when you just don't know.
Yeah. I mean, there's a an elder gentleman here in town who says risk is a spice of life, not variety. For some people, right? That's what keeps you
Yes.
feeling
Yeah.
alive.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
do you still paraglide? Do you still paraglide today? Like you've
Yeah,
kept
I
with it,
do. I mean, I really enjoy it. Yeah. I mean, it's been probably about a year since I was paragliding.
right?
And I would love to do more of it. I just, my life has taken me into this motorcycling trajectory at the moment. So
Right, right. Because is that what you're doing right now?
I'm
Motorcycling through Nepal?
Uh, I have been doing some motorcycling, but I've been mostly motorcycling in the Indian Himalayas for the last 3 years, and my motorcycle is in India at the moment, and I can't get into India, so I'm trying to get into India.
Right. And your motorcycle, I believe it is the because Todd has the same one. He was excited. It's the Royal Enfield Himalayan.
Yeah,
Do you have the
yeah.
sidecar?
No, I don't have the
Right.
sidecar.
Because he said you brought your niece. You took your niece motorcycling through
Well,
India,
I no, my niece had a job here in November that got postponed to this month, but here in Nepal. And so she joined me because she was taking a gap year, and I still couldn't get into India, so I rented a motorbike, and we cruised around here in Nepal on the motorcycle.
and like,
So,
is it worth talking about why you're not allowed in India, or do we just let that one lie?
oh yeah, no, we know, we can talk about it. So I'm not allowed in because of Trudeau and Modi.
Oh,
They've been fighting.
they had a
They've been
tiff.
fighting all year. They
Right.
did, about the Sikhs getting assassinated in Canada. So they're not really letting any Canadians in. I hear that they are letting some, but it's like very lottery
Right, right.
like
Okay. So it's not just you,
ish.
it's not just something with you.
No, it's not me. I didn't do anything illegal.
Right.
Unfortunately, I have no good story there.
Um, well, I feel like we might as well take a quick break and hear from our partners at Citizen Watches. Hey, buddy, have you got the time? Or is it time to get yourself a new Citizen watch? Did you know their Eco Drive watches are powered solely by light? Any kind of light? Or that their atomic timekeeping watches are constantly syncing with atomic clocks all over the planet to ensure your watch's margin of error never exceeds 1 second every 100,000 years? Check out all this wild tech and all their great watch options at citizenwatch.com. All right,
Great.
great. Fantastic. Great break. But we're pumped. Citizen is our new partner on the pod. And I mean, I love a wristwatch because I don't have to look at my phone as much. Um, but it's obviously also no coincidence that you're on the Citizen ProMaster team. It's a heavy lineup of adventurers. Do you get to hang out with those people on the regular, or is it more just a team in theory, but not in contact with each other?
No, no, there's four of us, and Will Gadd is a longtime friend of mine, and I've been a
Right.
couple expeditions with him. And Jeff Shapiro is also a long, long time friend of mine. So, yeah, those guys I see fairly often. And then William Drum, though, I this is the first time meeting Will, and he's awesome. He's great.
He's a
But yeah,
photographer also.
so yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
underwater.
fun.
He's a diver.
Um,
Yeah, he's great.
I guess we'll go a little bit Hollywood style here, but on this trip, in the Himalaya, what watch are you wearing?
This is the ProMaster Tough. It's the toughest one they have. So like I can beat the shit out of it, and you can't even tell, actually. It doesn't even scratch.
Well,
It's pretty amazing.
I think speaking of tough, okay. you've been around the world a lot. You've been through a lot of things. In 2017, Men's Journal magazine named you one of the 25 most adventurous women of the past 25 years. Uh, we're trying to get this pod out for International Women's Day on the 8th. Um, I feel like you've probably met in your travels, most of your life, you've been going around the world, more than 100 countries. I feel like you've met a broader cross section of women than a lot of people on Earth. Um, what are your thoughts on International Women's Day? Like, oh, here's one day for 50% of the population, but does as someone who's seen a lot of women in countries of all different kinds, is a day like this valuable?
Yeah, I
Or
mean, yeah, I think so. I mean, I think it's just, anytime you can recognize, anybody, I mean, that has immense value. Yeah, I mean,
yeah,
it's great, I mean, I mean, especially I think in a lot of the third world countries or poorer countries I travel to, oftentimes I think a lot of women are kind of not given, definitely not given the recognition they deserve. So
yeah,
yeah, I mean, 100%. It's
okay.
incredibly valuable.
This
Yeah.
industry that we're in, the outdoor sports industry, the adrenaline sports, whatever, traditionally kind of a sausage party. Um,
Yeah,
has it
sure.
has it been a disadvantage for you being a woman, or has it been like, oh, sometimes you get to, you know, as the culture shifts, it's opened up doors that were previously closed.
Yeah, I mean, I've never viewed it like that, and I've never experienced it like that. To be honest, I just think of myself as a human, and I try not to think of things in terms of gender too much.
Yeah,
I just feel like I'm a person. I can do what I'm capable of doing and what I want to do, and to me, gender doesn't come into it so much. I mean, I definitely think being a female gives you a ton of advantages, um, just in terms of access but it can also bring disadvantages, I guess personally, I never view it as a female thing so much. But
yeah.
I mean, I'm fortunate that I haven't had it be a limiting factor in any way, shape, or form in my life.
As a traveler, I think a lot of that is just solving problems on the fly, right? Figuring it as you go with what you have. No matter who you are, you've only got what you have, and you have to figure it out.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I think that was one of the great lessons I learned from sailing in, really remote locations. Like when the boat breaks down and you're in the middle of nowhere and you can't get the parts and you can't get
Yeah,
the stuff, you really do think. I mean, I thought so many times, like, I'm screwed. Like, we're screwed, you
yeah.
know? And then you figure it out, you become resourceful, you learn how to adapt and cope and problem solve. And yeah, so now I just think, oh yeah, let's just problem solve. How can we figure it out? And it's a good challenge now. And yeah, exactly, when you're in those situations, the gender doesn't matter. You're
Yeah,
just
yeah, yeah.
a human trying to get out of that situation alive, like, it's just like,
Do,
same with paragliding. So same with a lot of things that I do. It's just the gender component doesn't
yeah.
play a part so much. Yeah.
Do you think that some people are just innately born with that ability to MacGyver a solution? And of course, you can learn it through experience. But are there those people that are always those tinkers? Were you one of those people when you were younger that was just, I'll find a solution with gum and thread and a piece of tinfoil? Or was it more for you something that you learned at sea and beyond?
Well, no, I think my brother is like a real life MacGyver in Alaska. He's a bush pilot and mechanic, and
Right.
he can build anything. And he was always a huge role model to me. So I think, having him in my life growing up, I was always kind of interested in what he was interested in. And he was so curious about how things work and how things, are put together and how you fix things. And that's definitely rubbed off on me. I do love now problem solving, and I just think those sailing took it to a level that not many people get to experience, because you're
Yeah.
not, most people are not in situations where they have no options,
Yeah, yeah.
or they feel like they have zero options.
A lot of people
So
don't know how to change a tire because they don't need to anymore, right? Like when you're on the road,
exactly.
you
Or
can
even
call.
drive stick shift, like,
Yeah.
basic, you
That's
know,
the best anti-theft device, right? Is just a
basic
stick
things.
shift. No
Right,
no one's
exactly.
stealing
So
your car in this country anyhow. Um
exactly. Exactly.
on a boat, everything has a place. So what's your apartment like? Is it super organized? Did that boat life rub off on you for the organization and the sort of OCD of everything, or is it the opposite where now that you're off the water, everything can go wherever you want?
No, I think it's a bit of both, to be honest. I mean, I think the boat really taught me that less is more. Just having less shit in your life
Yeah,
really, really is fantastic and freeing in so many ways. So, I try to bring that into my home. Uh, I just like, why do I need this shit? I don't need it. Let's get rid of
yeah,
it.
yeah. Well, like right
And
now
so that was another valuable lesson.
right now you must be
Sorry, go
traveling
ahead.
pretty light.
Well, no, that's the crappy thing about being a photographer, is just like I end up lugging around too much shit, you know?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Um,
How many
and that's
camera?
hard. When gear comes into play, I think it kind of takes priority, I guess, in my life a little bit. But I'm always thinking about paring down. And like motorcycling, another great thing. You can't take that much shit on the motorcycle, you
Yeah,
know?
yeah.
So,
And half of it's
and
cameras.
then I think that makes you better. Yeah, and drones, and I think it makes you a much better photographer too. When you have limitations in your creativity,
Yeah,
again, it forces you to
be
move,
yeah,
to think
be
differently,
more creative.
and I think and be more creative, and it definitely helps with my photography for sure.
I want to talk a little bit about collaboration just because I saw a video of you with a BMX athlete in Hawaii, and you've worked with 60-year-old elephants and all different kinds of wildlife, but also all different kinds of people. But when you meet somebody that you're supposed to collaborate with, maybe if you haven't met them before, is there a personality trait or a vibe or something that you realize early on, like, oh yeah, this is gonna work? Or does it always just kind of happen naturally?
Yeah, I mean, I think when you work with a lot of different people, you kind of learn to adapt to what their vibe is. But
Right.
I think it always is great when people are very um humble, self-deprecating, love to make fun, joke around, don't take things too seriously. And it's usually the athletes that have been around a long time and like seen a lot of shit, and like even in the toughest situations, we're making jokes. And I
Yeah.
think and not complaining. I mean, those are always the best people to work with, and the easiest ones to work with, because they're easygoing and they don't take life too seriously.
I guess it ties a little bit
And
back to
back
the
back to the
insignificance.
insignificance. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
exactly.
And not taking things too seriously. Of course, there is serious things happen. I did read an article, Vancouver Sun. One time you were told in 2019, 4 years to live, right?
Yeah.
Are you tired of talking about that? Can we get the Cole's notes on that? Or,
No.
yeah, what was
Yeah,
like,
sure,
you were
sure.
already
I mean,
living a dream life, but what was that like?
it's actually a crazy story, and one worth talking about, because it is pretty nuts. Um, but yeah, I was having all these like abdominal issues, and they just kept telling me, "Oh, it's like ovarian cysts. It's normal. It'll go away." And it wasn't going away. And then finally, I got a CT scan, and then they were like, "Oh yeah, you have a 5-inch tumor in your abdomen, and you've got like 1 to 4 years to live." And I was like, oh my God.
Yeah.
And I went, they got me into surgery right away. And I remember the surgeon said, when we're on the table, we're going to remove the tumor and we're going to do pathology on it. And within, 20 seconds, we're going to know if it's benign or malignant. But they were pretty sure it was ovarian cancer, which is why they gave me the 1 to 4 year diagnosis to
Right.
live. And he said, when if it's malignant, we're going to remove as much as we can in your abdomen so that you can have the longest, more that 4 year span to live, to kind of like max out hopefully
Yeah.
your, yeah, your lifespan as much as you can. And then, and so I went into surgery just like, expecting that to happen.
Yeah.
And then I remember woke up and I said, the doctor came in and I said, so what happened? And he's just like, we don't know what it is. He said, we had to send it to Harvard.
You're a
And I was like,
medical
what?
anomaly.
Yeah. I was like, what? Like, this is crazy. And then, yeah. So he's like, you got to wait a couple weeks and then you might have to, we're likely going to have to go reopen you and then remove everything we were going to remove and stuff like that. And then 2 weeks later, he calls me. He says, you're not going to believe this, but you're one of 8 people to have grown this tumor that's non-cancerous, completely benign, just like this tissue, like,
Wild.
this r
Yeah.
weird tissue. And he said, I've never seen this in my career. I will never see it again. He was just like, this is one of the weirdest things I've ever seen. And he said, you're fine. You're good to go. And I was just
Wow.
like, well, I was like, how did it happen? Like what caused this? He's like, we have no idea. We never see it. We don't know. We don't know anything about it.
What what was that 2 weeks like? Was it like were you obviously you've already led the life of your dreams for much of it. What was going through your mind those 2 weeks of waiting?
I mean, I think the couple days going into the surgery and then the waiting. Yeah. I mean, it just, I mean, it took me back to the same kind of mental space and thoughts I had when Chris died.
Right.
Just like, what do I do now? And what's really important? And how am I going to spend my time? And who am I going to spend it with? And, it just, everything comes rushing into focus. Yeah, I guess to the most basic, most important building blocks of your life. And
Yeah.
like, you really try to focus and drill down on those. And like, okay, if I've got 4 years, like, what do I want that to look like, in
Yeah, yeah.
every way, shape, and form.
And now like,
Um,
you've had that focus in a couple varying degrees, but this is, your own mortality, very focused. It does those 2 weeks and that sense of what's really important to me you're still carrying that around to some degree, I'd imagine. That
oh
focus
yeah,
of
I
what
mean,
matters.
in so many ways, I am so grateful for those reminders. Whether it was Chris' death or this situation. I mean, they are profound reminders to live your life with
Yeah.
purpose and that it's fulfilling and that you're not trying to waste time and just doing things you really want to do and with
Yeah.
and spend it with the people you want to spend it with. I mean, that's a profoundly valuable gift that you can hear people say till the cow these things till the cows come home, but you don't fully understand them in your core
Yeah.
until you go through experiences like this, and
Yeah.
that's so powerful. And then the next thing is to try to implement those. It's like one thing to say, okay, I got to do it, but then it's a whole
Yeah.
other thing to live it, you know and make those tough decisions and
Yeah.
cut
And
those shitty people out of your life. And
and face those fears a lot of time,
yeah,
right? What if?
and
Um
face, exactly. Yep.
I want to come back to
So that's
photography
why, like,
because
that's why now I'm constantly like, I try to tell everybody, like, anybody I meet, I'm like, what are you passionate about? What do you want to do? Like, go do it. Just don't stop thinking about it. Just go fucking do it.
yeah,
Like
yeah,
anything can happen to us at any time, you know?
yeah,
So
yeah,
it's just like, go after it.
yeah. I do want to come back to photography because you like one of the greatest photographers in the world. We've barely talked about it, but you mentioned you started kind of submitting when you were on the sailboat or shortly after that, or how did your photography
Yeah.
career come around?
Yeah. So I don't know if you saw my TEDx talk about like my first 10 days of sailing ever was from New Zealand to Fiji.
Yeah,
Well, it was actually
seasick
we were trying to go to Vanuatu.
and
Oh my
seasick the
God, it
whole
was
way.
just, well, I was seasick for a decade. I was seasick the whole time I was at sea. But those 10 days on that passage was a full-on sailing nightmare. I mean, we almost lost the mast. We had, 80-foot rogue waves. We had like 40, $50,000 worth of damage in those 10 days. And like, nobody ate. We plotted to like ram it into a reef to get rescued by hopefully a helicopter or something. I mean, I would have even rather been eaten by a shark at that point than,
Yeah, and it was your
be
first
on, be
trip.
on that trip. And it was my first 10 days. And I remember when we limped into Fiji, because we really did limp in. I remember I was just like, I just got to get off this thing and get the hell out of here. Like I'm getting on a plane and I'm getting the hell out of here. And I remember after like a day and a half of like sleeping and eating, I just remember thinking to myself, no, I can't give up, like I haven't even really given this thing a chance. And if I give up now, I'll regret it. If I go home with my tail between my legs and
Yeah,
just thinking, oh, that sucked,
it
I
feels
was
like
just like, I'm gonna regret it.
it feels like you tell yourself that a lot. Like I'm on a
I
precipice,
do.
but I'm gonna regret this if I don't push forward.
No, I do. And that's a really guiding force for me. It's
Yeah,
like, how am I going to feel if I don't do it? I don't know how I'm going to feel if I do, but I definitely know how I'm going to feel if I don't.
yeah,
So then I'm like, oh, well, I gotta give it a go a little bit longer. And then I also remember thinking, okay, well, if I'm going to stick with this or give it a try, I'm going to take my photography seriously. And like, I'm going to be in all these amazing places, hopefully having all these great adventures. So I want to, this is my chance. Like if there's any ever time to like really go for it, this is my
yeah,
opportunity. So then I just started doing that. I was like thinking about taking pictures a lot and all the time basically, and just trying to get better and just, see what that looked like. Cause I just knew I loved it. So I was just like, okay, I'm going to go for it.
yeah. And then so where did
And
you
it
sell
wasn't
that first
overnight, of
photo?
course. I was to a kiteboarding magazine because we started doing a lot of kiteboarding, and this was just on charters before I started the world kiteboarding expedition by catamaran with my partner. Um, and so yeah, it was just that we were just doing a lot of kiteboarding and surfing and stuff like that, and so I submitted it to
Right.
kiteboarding magazines, and at the time I mean, it was really good because the boat was getting us access to places that, most people can't get access to.
Yeah,
And kiteboarding was growing. And yeah, I mean, so the editor, it was kind of easy because editors, anything I would submit, editors were like, wow, we've never seen this before. We've never
yeah,
seen this
yeah,
place before. We've never seen kiteboarding here before, So And think in some ways it was pretty easy entry in that way for getting starting to get published at least, you know.
Yeah, nice.
But working at Mech helped a lot as a photo editor because I had learned, what kind of submission, like the photos I liked, what worked, what I thought
Yeah,
worked, and what a submission looked like. Like you keep the submissions like a really tight edit. You don't like bombard the editor with like hundreds of images or even 100 images.
yeah.
Like you can't waste their time. Like if I ever got a submission like that at Mech, I'd be like, what the hell? Like, Jesus, I don't have like 5 hours to go through all these things,
Oh yeah,
Like
no. I feel your
I
pain.
mean, yeah, I mean, you're not being critical enough of your own work, just send me your 10 best shots or your five. And so that, being on that side at Mech really helped me, I think, with submitting and being super critical of my own work,
Right.
and just knowing like, oh yeah, that's shit, that's shit, that's shit, you know pretty
Yeah,
quickly because I'd already been analyzing and looking at pictures so much.
right.
And I remember being at parties in Vancouver and people were like, what do you do? And I was like, oh, I'm a photo editor at Mech. And they were like, oh, I just did this amazing backcountry ski tour and I took these incredible photos and can I submit them to you? And I like immediately knew they would be shit, because I'm just like, no good photographer will tell me they have like a lot of amazing photos. It's just,
Right.
you learn that, right?
Like you said,
Yeah.
the people you like to collaborate with are the humble, humorous type, right? Not the
Well, yeah, I mean, though you can tell the people have been around the block a long time and learned a lot of lessons, and then they've also learned about their insignificance, so they're, you know, well,
yeah, yeah.
there's, yeah.
Um, your photos, you sell your photos. Obviously, I feel like people that spend a lot of time in the world try to do their best to make it a better place. It's all carbon neutral. Your prints, your shipping. Um, was that hard to set up? Was it did you have to take a large hit to make that happen in the way that you wanted to happen for your print shop?
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely more effort because not a lot of people offer it or
Yeah,
in terms of suppliers. So yeah, it
yeah,
is yeah, yeah. But at the end of the day, yeah, I just try to do the right thing,
yeah,
try to do
yeah,
the better thing. It's a right thing would probably be not selling prints at all, but it's just everything's a balance in life and trying to minimize, that impact in any way, you
yeah.
can in a reasonable way. Is definitely worth it for
Do
me.
do you
I
get
think that's the sorry, go ahead.
do you get feedback from customers like saying, "Hey, I love this," or "Great idea," or "This played a role in my decision"?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know that much detail into. I do hear sometimes because I think that's a lot of my audience, is that people that care about these places like the wilderness and protecting these areas. So I'm sure it's appreciated. I mean, I would imagine it is just because I think that's a lot of my audience.
Yeah. Well, this has been fantastic. I could talk forever, but I know it's early in the morning for you in Nepal. You've probably got a bunch of stuff to do. But before we wind it down, can we just rapid fire a few things? Um,
Yeah, let's do it.
what would you rather have for your birthday, cake or pie?
Shit, it depends on the cake. It depends on the pie.
Give me your top flavor for each.
Raspberry pie, my all-time fave. And then I have a longtime family friend that makes this incredible spiced cake, which is kind of like chai,
Right.
chai kind of cake. I mean, it's incredible. It's my all-time favorite too. So there you go.
Perfect. What's the last good book you read or a book you think everyone should read? Rip-
I mean, one of that's a hard one. I mean, there's so many great ones, but in terms of like travel and one that really impacted me, is especially traveling through Asia, was Shantaram, which has been around forever. But I still think if people like going to India and haven't read it, definitely need to read it. But it's really it really had a huge impact on me and how I see kind of like the poorer regions of the world, and the
Yeah,
beauty in those places. And
great
so
book.
for me, that was really significant. Yeah.
I like the first half more than the second half, but definitely,
Me too. I didn't enjoy the site, but the first half was pure
yeah.
magic, It was
They
really
turned that
great.
into a TV show. I didn't finish it, but is there a
Me
movie
neither.
is there a movie or TV show that you do love?
Wow. I mean, there's quite a few um that come to mind right away. First season of True Detective.
Yeah,
Amazing.
there you go. Perfect.
Amazing. Amazing. Yeah.
What about music? You're on the road a lot. Is music a big part of your life?
Huge.
Yeah.
Huge.
Is there any band
Yeah.
is a band or two bands that you think everyone should know?
Well, I've got Ghost Woman pretty much on repeat lately.
Sick.
Um Dope Dope Lemon,
There we go.
another
All right.
one.
I'm not familiar
Ty
with
Ty
either, so
Segall.
yeah, excellent.
Ty Segall. Yeah. Yep.
Um, who do you think would win in a fight, a burrito or a grilled cheese sandwich?
Oh, burrito. Come on.
How come? Just because of like sheer mass, or
Mass, it's got a lot of stuff going on. I mean, it's like the bigger bully, I
sure?
mean, I think it could kick the shit out of a grilled cheese.
Yeah. Okay.
I mean, a grilled cheese is more like laid back, melted,
Yeah, but it's
like
very
chill.
it's very together. Like it's hard to tear apart.
What? I'm sorry, I
It's
didn't. You broke up there. What'd you say?
it's hard to tear a grilled cheese apart. Like it's very together. The core
Depends on the
strength.
bread.
I think it has good core strength. Um,
It does have great. It does have great core strength.
is there anything that you're afraid of? You know, is it spiders, snakes, the dark, heights? Is there anything that you're like a weird fear of?
Yeah, with 9 to 5 job in an office. That's my fear.
Perfect. When you come
Big,
back,
big time.
yeah, I mean that is worse than any snake. Um, when you come back from a big trip or when how do you treat yourself? What's your greatest extravagance?
Oh man, it's funny. I just being at home in North America feels like an extravagance to me after doing what I do most of the time. But no, it's funny. I have, I mean, I think it comes down to food, just like eating really good, like
Right.
salads, organic salads and stuff like that. It's just because I haven't usually had them in a long time, and my body
Yeah.
craves it, and that's a really nice luxury for me. But other than that, it's quite funny. I feel often really guilty about indulging in things. Like, even for me to pay for a massage is a very rare thing. Like, I kind of feel like a bit of an asshole when I start indulging in a lot of luxuries for some reason.
Yeah.
So yeah,
How like I
I
mean
mean,
obviously
I have to say it's food.
yeah. How much of the year will you spend on the road, not, you know, at home? Is it most? Is it half?
I would say in the last couple years, I mean, it kind of it fluctuates.
Yeah.
Um, I would say though, since I've been motorcycling, I would say more like 8 months out of the year I'm gone.
Wow.
Yeah, 8 to 9, even a lot.
Yeah. Cool.
Um, and I was trying to before that. I was COVID made me stay home for a while, for sure, and
Yeah.
that was tough.
What did you do?
And then also the well, I was still recovering from my tumor thing.
Right, right, right.
So the timing of that worked out kind of well, actually. And yeah, I mean, yeah, I just kind of stayed at home and was doing home stuff, but. Nothing too exciting. I wish though, if we go into another pandemic, I'm going to make sure I'm on like a remote beach in like Indo,
Yeah.
like in a shack near surf break where I can just,
Yeah.
surf every day or
Or
something.
or
That would
do
be ideal.
take the Frank Wolf approach and just paddle around Vancouver Island for your isolation.
You know what he did? Is that what
Yeah.
Frank did?
Yeah.
Oh, amazing. Frank's so awesome.
Um, Besides a camera, is there one piece of gear or equipment that you like don't like to leave home without on these trips?
Ah, jeez. I mean, the thing that comes to mind right away is toilet paper, but
I mean, there's a reason people hoard that
um,
stuff.
I know, yeah, just because a lot of the areas I'm in, it's like gold. It's
Yeah,
invaluable, you know. But you can get it in cities, so it's not like I have to leave home with it.
right.
No, I mean, other than that, it's really the camera, you know.
Yeah. Yeah. And
Yeah.
like right now, how many cameras do you have in your kit?
Here in Nepal, I have just two bodies, three lenses on me at the moment.
Yeah.
But usually when I often create a home base when I'm traveling, like
Right,
somewhere,
right.
and then I kind of leave the bulk of the gear and then go out and do different side trips or missions or projects or whatever, and then kind of come back. So I always try to, kind of be somewhere with minimal amount of stuff if I can,
Yeah, that makes sense.
depending on the project.
This
Because
is the
I don't just stay somewhere 2 weeks. Like I'm often somewhere many months,
yeah,
So
yeah.
yeah,
This is the first question they teach you in journalism school, but looking back, is there one big regret that stands out?
one big regret. Um, I mean, I don't. It's funny. Like I often don't think of things like that. Like I don't think of regret because I always feel like everything I've done has got me to where I am now, and I'm a big believer in like stoicism where the bad shit that happens to you is the best stuff that happens because that's where you really learn and grow. And so I don't think of regret like that. I just
Yeah.
feel like all the shitty stuff's usually where the gold is.
I mean, that
And
might,
I am who I am
yeah,
today because of it. So
that maybe leads
yeah.
in, that maybe leads into our last question. But, if you could go back in time and talk to the 14-year-old version of yourself, what would you say? What advice would you give?
um I would probably say this is probably pretty shitty advice for many people, but I wouldn't have gone to university. I
Yeah.
would have just been out in the world earlier, going after shit I really wanted to go after and do, or like at least figure that out. Because I understand at that age you don't really know, but I don't think I needed university to, you know, help me in that regard. So I think I would bypass that. I would have listened to my father, who always bothered me to learn more languages. And I remember thinking, oh, you know, why do I need to know all that stuff? Now I'm really kicking myself in the ass for that. And then and he always said instruments too, and I'm really kicking myself in the ass for that.
Yeah.
So
Well, I
yeah.
relate to your father there. I have a son. I tell him and his buddies like, if you can play an instrument and ride a skateboard, you can go anywhere in the world and make friends, right?
Oh yeah.
And if you've
Yeah,
got an
yeah, yeah.
iron and if you've got an Iron Maiden jacket on, even better.
That's awesome.
Oh man, Jody, thank you so
Yeah,
much for
that's
your
great advice.
time. Thank you so much for your time. It's been a real treat. What a
Thank you.
yeah, what a gift to get to be
How
exposed
did
to your photography.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate it.
We'll put a link to your website in the description, but is there anything else people need to know if they want to learn more about you?
No, I mean, I think the my main form of communication to the outside world is my Instagram account, Jody MacDonald Photo. I do a lot of story stuff more than main feed stuff. So if anybody really wants to see behind the scenes of my day-to-day life, you usually got a lot of stories going on there. So that's probably
Yeah.
the best way.
We'll put a link to that
Yeah,
into it's MacDonald, not McDonald. I don't know if you're old enough to
exactly.
remember the phone book, right? But you used to have the mix and max section right in the phone book,
Yes.
right? So
Yeah,
I
yeah.
I don't know. That's slightly a bit higher than insignificant to have your own section like that. Jody, thank you so much. What a treat.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, how about that? Jody MacDonald is so badass and so awesome, and we're definitely going to have to get her back on the show. I feel like we barely scratched the surface there. As mentioned, check out her site, jodymacdonaldphotography.com, and add her Insta to your list of people who can inspire you daily. It's at Jody MacDonald Photo. And as we mentioned, that's Mac, not Mick. Thank you, Jody, for your time. Thanks also to Shirai Rules and Adrian Gendro for the voiceovers and guitars off the top. And of course, thank you, dear listener, for your time. I know the clock is ticking on winter here and spring break is just around the corner. We have some pretty good travel stories up at mountainlifemedia.ca. Everything from heli skiing to winter e-biking to surf sojourns. Dig in and have fun. While you're there, feel free to hit up the Mountain Life shop for a sick hat, toque, mug, poster, shirt, whatever, and let the world know that you're living that mountain life, or at least living it vicariously. Happy International Women's Day. Sending huge love and respect to all the women in our lives. Thank you for literally creating life. And I eagerly await the day when women run the world, because I think we can all agree it's looking like it's well beyond time for that. So yeah, be kind to each other out there, mountain lifers. Have fun, get rad, but if you see someone struggling, stop and lend a hand. And please, leave the campsite and the people you meet there better than you found them.